I've just been reading about Wayne Teasdale. Wayne Teasdale apparently is, well, he's dead now, but he sounds like quite an interesting chap. He wrote a number of books, one called The Mystic Heart, I believe, which I haven't read. I've just read about him right now. And I think he was a Catholic monk or something like that, and did a lot of work on, well, he's a kind of social activist, but he did a lot of work on interfaith dialogue and interspirituality. I always have a bit of a problem with the term interfaith dialogue. It seems to me that interfaith dialogue means that it just smacks to me of two people shouting over a fence at one another. But this other term, interspirituality, which I hadn't come across before, was quite interesting, really. And the way I'm reading it, and I might be completely wrong in this, is it sounds to me a bit like an inheritor of perennial philosophy stuff, the kind of thing that talks about perennial philosophy again. Aldous Huxley talks about, but I think it comes up in other places as well. This idea that at the core of a lot of different religions, there are a set of, not exactly beliefs, but ideas and practices and concepts which are common to all of those religions, and suggest some kind of universality, some kind of universal human experience, if not universal experience in any kind of transcendent sense. Wow. So interspirituality seems to be about that, and it particularly seems to be about that kind of practice I've talked about before, this idea to do with non-duality, and to do with an elimination of the ego, or a recognition that the self is something not exactly socially constructed, although it might be, and possibly not even biologically constructed, although that would certainly be a case that I would be willing to make. But it's something that is potentially limiting, and it is an idea that prevents us from engaging with other aspects of the world. I guess that's something like that, although I know I'm talking really fuzzy terms here. And so the idea of a lot of religious practices are about the diminishing or the erasure or the avoidance of concentrating on this idea of the self in favour of some other kind of experience. It's most evident in something like Buddhist practice, I suppose, and I know that Teasdale had a lot to do with interfaith dialogues between Christianity and Buddhism. But I suppose it is there in certain aspects of Christianity as well, mystic traditions within Christianity, apophatic traditions within Christianity have that kind of idea. It's less evident in mainstream Christianity and fundamentalist versions. So why am I talking about this? Yeah, I suppose there's a couple of things that for me come out of that, apart from the fact that it may be completely spurious, and I'm just talking about it as an interesting poetic idea, not the one that I'm signing up for. Firstly, in terms of this interspirituality or the perennial philosophy or any of those kind of things, in terms of that being a religion, I'm not sure it counts really in most people's minds. Because although that absolutely might be the case with people like Teasdale, or with some what you might call sophisticated theologians who definitely seem to lean in that direction. And here again I'm thinking about Karen Armstrong, who I've been thinking about recently. She absolutely seems to be leaning in that direction. And James Carse, who I've mentioned, and other people who come from different religious traditions but seem to use those religious traditions as entry points into some other kind of set of thoughts. It might be, so it seems to exist on that kind of radar, but it certainly doesn't exist in the mindset, I think, of most religious believers. There was a great article in, I don't know, some religious website linked to from the Richard Dawkins site, who was talking about Karen Armstrong and that recent set of articles that were put together in the Wall Street Journal, where she contributed one and Richard Dawkins contributed one. And this particular Christian website said that this was actually a discussion between two atheists. That Karen Armstrong was as much of an atheist as Richard Dawkins. She just didn't know she was, which is really interesting. So I'm not sure Karen Armstrong would call herself an atheist. I doubt it, quite honestly. But certainly from the point of view of a kind of mainstream Christian tradition, one that absolutely believes in the kind of material reality of certain religious and Christian claims, then to align oneself with interspirituality or to align oneself with perennial philosophy, it is tantamount to atheism. Yeah, I think that's what I was going to talk about. Well, no, what I was going to talk about, but I haven't really got time, I don't think now. I've probably used up my 10 minutes already. Is to do with what it means to have that kind of idea of an interspirituality. What does it mean to dismiss all those other kind of more dogmatic aspects of religious practice and just focus on this idea of non-duality, or to just focus on this idea that getting rid of the self for a while is possibly a good idea, to engage in contemplative practices to acquire that particular religious state? Does it have any value, and what does it mean, really? I suppose the only point of contact that I have with it is to do with the opposite of non-duality, which is duality, which seems to be the state that we all walk around in. I know there's quite a lot of research being done on child development, which suggests that dualism is this idea that we are a mind living inside a body is kind of innate. It's hardwired. We seem to believe that from birth. Paul Bloom talks about this in Descartes' Baby. He says we're natural-born dualists, and so we do tend to have this natural substance dualism, this natural mind-body split, and we don't feel as if we are in the world in quite the same way that objects are in the world. We don't feel our materiality, if you like. So there is this sense of discontinuity, and one of the possible options available for people who engage in contemplative spiritual practice and embrace perennialism or interspirituality or whatever you want to call it, is to get past that duality into a situation of non-duality. The slight oddity of that, of course, is that when you go into a state of non-duality, at least the way I understand it, and I'm probably wrong here, is that it's assumed that the higher reality that you're kind of engaging with is different from the material reality of the world. Well, I'm not sure it is. I think if you enter non-duality, you're really entering into the one way of looking at it. An interpretation that I would favour would be that you are engaging with the material continuity of the world. That here we all are, made of this stuff called matter, which is made of the various forces that make up this local part of the universe. And here we all are, seamlessly enmeshed into this set of universal laws and stuff, and subject to its laws and operating in its remit. And to erase oneself for a while isn't to enter this weird, sublime, gaseous state of ultimate mind. I would say it would be to enter this state of ultimate matter, or a state where these things, just that distinction is irrelevant, really. That's where I would go with it.